Hey Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here and welcome to Let's Play Civilization 6 as China. Let's start off by taking a quick look at how well we're doing in the culture victory. Currently we have 12 out of 98 tourists that we need to win the game. The big goal for this episode is to try to build ancient, medieval and Renaissance walls in all of our cities. We have more or less all of those unlocked. And the reason we want to do that is because we're about to research conservation, which gives you tourism from walls, which is across all of these cities about 6 tourism per turn before modifiers. And that seems like a pretty good investment, especially if we plug in the Limes card or the Limes card. That'll give us 100% production towards defensive buildings. So that'll be probably when I get the conservation civic. We'll go ahead and plug in Limes over veterancy or something like that and just start getting walls everywhere. The other major goal for this episode is to get a few more cities settled, like over here, and maybe another one down here, as well as to finish out, clean up these antiquity sites and finish off the Great Walls over in Wuhan. Nanjing is so far in really good shape to become a super useful city once it has its harbour up and built. The unfortunate thing is that you can't actually place floodplains on top of, forests on top of floodplains. So we are going to have a little bit of an issue there. I'm also going to try to block this settler by positioning my scouts where he won't be able to kind of move around me. Because if he wants to go to this tile, he has to stand still here. So he's probably going to try to bounce him back and forth on this forest so that I can sneak my own settler down and finish off claiming this whole island. I'm also going to position a builder right here to hopefully prevent this settler from jumping up onto this land. I don't know if that's going to work, but that's what I'm trying out. I'm also going to grab this settler and plant them down next turn to try to add a bit of loyalty pressure over here. It's not going to be an ideal location, but I need to make sure that this settler doesn't get a foothold before I do. I think I will put a lumber mill on this tile for now, because I don't think chopping it and then placing a forest on it is really worth it when I only had 1 build charge in the area, and the +2 production is pretty worth it. I really want this shipyard and this amphitheater, and I really want to be working theater square festivals. It's just I don't really have a lot of time to get all my production running. So I'm probably going to go ahead and purchase the shipyard in here to get an extra 4 production, as well as a little bit of production off these coastal tiles. I do need a builder to improve this fish. And actually, I don't believe in Taiyuan that Chengdu can actually work this fish. It's too far away. So I'm going to make sure I take that for Taiyuan or Taiyuan. I can't remember. I don't remember exactly how to say this. People tried to explain it to me. I think it's Taiyuan. Taiyuan. But now that we have the shipyard in here, I could work on the amphitheater, but I want to also get the ancient walls, medieval walls and stuff like that up ASAP, because that's going to provide me with immediate tourism. Similar sort of thing in Wuhan. I'm going to slow build the lighthouse. The city will probably only ever build a harbour and maybe a water park. So I'll just go ahead and throw that water park down here. The city exists just to kind of produce a little bit of tourism for me. And there might even be a neighbourhood thrown down here at a later date so that it can pick up a shopping mall. Like I predicted, this settler has jumped over onto that forest tile. So if I just keep positioning my scouts in a way to where they can't effectively get down into this settleable area, they're going to continue to have a really hard time. I'm going to go ahead and also settle a city right here. And the good news is I actually have 2 builders in the area ready to go ahead and improve things. It kind of sucks that this is on the coastline, but like these mine tiles are, when these could be really good tiles for, you know, productivity and stuff like that, but it's totally fine. And we're going to work on a harbour in here as well and make sure that we lock in the niter tile because it's a really high value tile. In fact, that's about on par with some of my tiles from the Torres del Paine. I'm going to go ahead and appoint a Mani right now with this governor title because she essentially counts as a +2 envoy that I can just slot in wherever I need her. I think I'm going to go ahead and plug her into Kumasi and then put a single extra envoy into Kumasi. By the time she's established, I should have maximum suzerainty over them. Wow, there's triple horses here that I never noticed. I've never seen a cluster of strategic resources like that. This map generation is certainly something very interesting that I haven't seen a lot of before. I'd like to maybe get 2 or 3 cities in here to do a bit of Great Wall work. Like, I mean, if I settled on this stone, I could have a Great Wall looping all the way around this city, eventually maybe splitting and heading down. Well, I guess it'll go all the way down like this. So I think I might settle here and here on the stone and on this plains hill on the freshwater right here. Looks like Jin Chuan. I don't know how to say this guy's name, but he's established now a presence in Nidaros, and they are, of course, doing send aid. I'm going to go ahead and siphon funds. And speaking of send aid, it might be a good idea to check this. The silver rewards are a 100 Diplo score. It might be worth it for me to just talk to Canada and be like, hey, buddy, here's like 200 gold. There you go. And we'll see where I stand, because 200 gold for 50 Diplo favors seems like a pretty good deal. All right, there we go. We have unlocked conservation. That is going to trigger a lot of changes in how I'm going to be playing the game. Unfortunately, 200 gold didn't get me up to the 25%. I kind of misread this. It's not a big deal. 200 gold wasted. I'm not going to put much more into this. Norway is pumping huge amounts of their economy into it. Plus, we have really good presence over Norway, so we can actually see that they're building certain wonders, like they're building the Hagia Sophia, they're building the Huito Ikali, they are building the Casa de Contratación, and actually St. John is also building the Casa de Contratación, and Ottawa is about to finish that. So having really good visibility over people, by the way, is super helpful, because you can tell what the AI is doing. Like, looks like Canada is building a settler over in Winnipeg, and I imagine he's looking to settle somewhere over here. Now, with conservation, we could start making our way towards cultural heritage to unlock the shipwrecks as well as the heritage tourism, but we don't have a whole lot of great works of art and artifacts. I think I am going to go ahead and swing down to pick up opera and ballet so I can get started on the Bolshoi Theatre. Then we're going to head up towards the Broadway and Cristo Redentor. I would like to get either of those, perhaps even both if possible. And we got ourselves another set of great works of writing that I'm going to pop right into the Oxford University. I need to make a decision about where I want to put my trader. Let me have a look here. Who am I not trading with? I have Coupe, I have America, I have Rome, I have Canada and Norway. So it looks like I'm trading with more or less everyone. And so really it's a question of where do I want to put my trade route to get the best multipliers as well as the best food and gold and sort of income. And I think getting Nanjing up and running really quickly could really help out this whole operation that I'm planning in this little island area. No, Coupe, don't settle there. No, Coupe. Don't do it. Don't do it, Coupe. He's trying to settle on this island, and it's very disturbing because I only just got my settler up here, which really, really sucks. So I'm probably going to have to step back a tile and settle on the bananas. Not the end of the world, but I mean, it's still a great tile, but it's not where I wanted to settle this city. Ah, that is so annoying. A coal appeared here. I mean, I like coal, don't get me wrong, but it's not what I want. I need to save up a bit, though, to purchase myself a factory and a coal power plant, because getting those two online in a fairly decent industrial zone once this canal is finished will be super helpful. I'm also going to go ahead and, since I researched conservation, I'm going to whip out veterancy. And I'm going to go ahead and whip in limes or limes and start producing walls everywhere. I'm going to go ahead and settle a city on this plains hill. There are a lot of barbs around here, but it shouldn't be a problem for me to deal with them. Especially because I have a courser as well as a privateer to help bombard from the water. Water mill completed in Xingzhou. I think we want to get the granary and monument up in here. However, we do have a limited amount of time until we get ideology and limes goes obsolete. So as much as I want granary and monuments in here, getting the ancient walls up is going to really boost my tourism. Oh, it looks like the Maori didn't actually settle the city this turn, which gives me an opportunity to snatch it away from them, which makes me very happy. And now this island is completely occupied with all tiles claimed, so I should have absolutely no problem getting a foothold on some of these other islands as well. Now, at the moment, Magnus is basically sitting around doing nothing, but actually Quishan has, I'm not sure how to pronounce that city's name, but that has plenty of chops, so I'm going to move Magnus over there and pretty much just wait. I'll get like stuff like these fishing tiles online and pretty much just wait till he's established and then like chop out all this stuff and then rebuild this for tourism generation. I definitely want a harbour in this city as a priority. I'm of course going to want to get a granary, but I'll probably purchase that with gold in the long run, so I'd rather just pour my production into a harbour right now. I'm setting up... Oh god, my camera, stop. I'm setting up a camera in Nanjing with Skedsmo because I want the +2 food, +2 production, and the science, culture, science, faith, and gold as well. But mostly for the +2 food, +2 production. It's really going to help the city speed up its productivity in terms of the harbour and that sort of jazz. Like, it's already a 7 production city and it's only just started. I am going to buy the granary to allow that city to grow just a little bit more. We're also establishing a spy in Washington. We're going to gain sources. The reason we gain sources is to decrease the possibility that a mission fails on us so that we can have a higher probability that our spy actually levels up and can go on to do even more successful missions. We have picked up Yi Sun Sin, which gives us a free ironclad with a promotion as well as 1 coal per turn. I'm more interested in getting that +1 free coal per turn, so I'm probably going to use this guy, get the 2 era score, and then immediately delete this ironclad, because I just don't need to be spending the coal. I'd much rather have coal income. We're also about 6 turns from the end of this era, and what I think I'm gonna do is try to upgrade this. Do I already have... No. So I could, in fact, upgrade this guy into a Crouching Tiger and get the last 4 era score. That's why if you don't need to build your unique unit, it's a really good idea to just kind of sit on the ability to do so, because at the right moment, it can be incredibly valuable to get your unique unit for the 4 era score that you need. Now, we do have 6 turns left, so it's like probably not necessary, and I could probably wait a bit, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it to get ahead of myself. So we have discovered flight, which is perfect because now we are almost fully set up to start generating a ton of tourism. If I come over here and have just a quick look at my walls, you can see now they are generating just a little bit of tourism, which tells me I want to start to plan a fairly large wall in and around here where I won't be able to get pretty good appeal. Like, for example, on these tiles right here, I might start a wall here, kind of loop it up and split it, run it along the coastline. I think that's a pretty good thing to do at this stage of the game. So we're going to probably start spending a lot of money on buying tiles and building great walls going, you know, all sorts of different directions on this island, mostly as a way to just get extra tourism. I could put a bunch of seaside resorts in here, but I feel like I'll get more value from great walls. Unfortunately, we did fail to make the Huey Toakali, but we are just able to transmute that into finishing a theater square in a single turn, which is a pretty good consolation prize, all things considered. But most of my empire right now is, like I said, just building walls in the vast majority of cases. There's a couple of places that I was kind of in the middle of doing something, like over here, building harbors. Like, I'll probably get around to building those walls in there eventually, but it's just not going to be immediately. Those harbors are so important for the long-term prosperity of those cities that I don't think I can really afford to delay it. I do have enough gold now to go ahead and purchase my factory in Chengdu, which is going to extend a nice +3 production to 4 of my cities. It's not a huge amount of production, but it's basically like getting a workshop in each of these cities. If I come in here and I refresh the city's production, you can see now it's getting +6 from the factory actually. Oh, is this city powered? Let me have a look here. Is this city getting powered? Maybe it gets a first turn free power or something? I don't know, but I'm getting 6 production from that factory, which is really damn nice. To put that in perspective, 6 production is like working a really good Plains Hill, like that right there. So if you imagine you could give your cities an extra tile to work, like that seems like a pretty damn good bonus. Which is why I think you should, not always, but almost always in every game, try to find place for a couple of industrial zones. I actually kind of wish I had built this industrial zone in my capital. It's not going to be there because I've already placed it in Chen, but you know, just kind of wish that's the way it had worked out. Time to settle yet another city over here. And I think this city is pretty much going to be almost entirely just dedicated to Great Walls swinging all the way around down through here and stuff like that. I might find room for a few seaside resorts, but I'm mostly interested in settling for the things right now. In fact, I think I'm kind of tempted to purchase myself one final settler to pop down into this tundra area. And I think I'm going to do that. That'll be the very last settler of the game, because we're 4 turns from finishing the Renaissance era and we won't be able to get any more because we won't have the Golden Age anymore. I still have time to upgrade this guy to a Crouching Tiger, and I'm going to try to hold on to that as long as possible, like until the very last second of this era, hoping that I get an era score from somewhere else. Now, the downside of this city is that it doesn't have a very good harbor, but I'm still going to get a harbor because for coastal cities with lots of fishing tiles, harbors are pretty much the best way for you to advance the city. looks like we managed to steal about 500 gold from Norway, which gives me enough money this turn to be able to afford the coal power plant. Now, it is only a +2 coal power plant. However, when this dam finishes next turn, it will be a +4 coal power plant. And then I'll be able to plug in the +100% industrial zone adjacency card, and it'll become a +8 coal power plant. And more importantly, it'll also give me access to a little bit of power and also juice up my factory. Now is the time that I'm going to start planting forests in key locations, for example right here and right here, to hopefully get the appeal of these tiles high enough to be able to support seaside resorts. That is going to mean that some of these mines are going to have to go, and in particular that I'm going to need like a lot more builder charges. So I think I might have to go ahead and use, if I can, my faith to get myself a builder before this era ends. I would have liked to have gotten a ton of builders, but you know, I found a whole chunk of empty land, so I decided to go for settlers. Builders would have been just as valid at this stage of the game as any other choice. And I also have opera and ballet, so I can start producing extra culture from buildings and theater squares. Too bad I don't have a whole lot of those built, so it's not really going to be a priority for me right now. Instead, I'd like to get to work on the Bolshoi Theater. That's going to be what I probably immediately start building in this city once it finishes its Renaissance walls. Although that said, I could have gone for the Mont Saint Michel this game, but I think the Bolshoi Theater is going to be the move here once this Renaissance wall is finished. And the city is picking up a bit more production and stuff like that. Now, the nice thing is I'm getting an extra 6 production everywhere. It's beautiful. It's providing me with a ton of yields. I think this one factory, I think like in total, if we think about what this one industrial zone is producing for me, okay? I want to try to take a moment here to appreciate how efficient an investment an industrial zone is. This one industrial zone is producing me 5 production from like just existing, right? Like that's the adjacency bonus. Then I'm getting another 3 production from the workshop. Then I'm getting another 6 production in these 4 cities. So that's like what, an extra 24 production. So that's a total of 32 production. And then the coal power plant itself is producing another 5 production. That's 35 production in my empire from a single industrial zone. That's really damn powerful. And I could very easily add another 10 production to that with the industrial zone adjacency card. So I really want to hammer home how important it is to get your hands on just a couple of industrial zones. I kind of wish I had maybe another one up here to the north. And I would kind of wish I had settled this a little bit earlier so I could have one built over here. Now, Shanghai has finished its Renaissance wall. So I would like to get an archaeological museum in Shanghai. Sorry, where's Shanghai? Oh God. Now, Xi'an, my capital, has finished building its Renaissance walls. I could get the zoo to get a whole ton of amenities in my local area. It would mostly apply to, I think it would apply to Jiaodong, Guangzhou, Chengdu, Taiyuan, and Xi'an. So that would be like a total of 5 amenities, right? Yeah, plus 5 amenities for this single investment of 5 turns. I kind of want to get my hands on an archaeological museum here so that I can get an archaeologist to run over here and clean up this so I can have this city essentially be finished and then I can forget about it. Now, there is also something to be said of getting like something like the Hermitage. I think I might go ahead and try to put the Eiffel Tower right beside my capital. Like right there, that's going to be something I try for. I know that tile has changed a lot. I could go for the Hermitage here and then just purchase the Archaeological Museum. They're pretty expensive though, is the problem. But if I could get the Hermitage, that would give me 4 great works of art slots and 3 great artist points per turn in a city with Pingala. I feel like those great work art slots are really worth it. The question is, where the hell do I put them? I can always move. Well, I want to put it on this hill because it's adjacent to a theater square, so that's more efficient, but that crushes a hill tile. That's 5 production that just disappears. So if anything, it's going to go here, I think. I also need to start thinking about great merchants, because at this stage of the game, I believe the great merchants that appear give you tons of tourism. So I need to start thinking about how I get my capital up to a higher population level. Ideally, that would have been with something like an aqueduct, but I have to start thinking out of the box here. It might have to be with neighborhoods in a little bit of time when I get urbanization. But anyway, we'll go ahead and get started on the Hermitage. If we can get the Hermitage, I'd be very, very happy because that's a ton of extra great work of art slots in my capital and I could fill that. I have 8 envoys to spend. I don't really care. Wait, do I care for Suzerainty of Nazca? I don't think I do. Do I? I mean, if I put a Nazca line here and a Nazca line here, it would be super powerful. I did plan to build walls along here, though, is the problem. Along this flat land. I'm kind of tempted to get another settler and like plop it down somewhere in this desert to take advantage of the Nazca lines. I'm definitely going to need to pick up Scorched Earth here so that I can plop in Expropriation to be able to do a lot of plot purchasing, because a lot of my strategy in like the next little while is going to be revolving around a lot of tile purchasing to build great walls. Which is kind of why I'm holding off on doing that right now, because I plan to do it much more efficiently as time goes on. Magnus is established in Qishan. Let's go ahead and start chopping out the rainforest here so that we can get this harbor finished real quick. We'll pop a lumber mill down in Chengdu. This is what you want to do. You want to build a forest, put a lumber mill on it, and then start building seaside resorts beside them. A couple of our friendships just ran out as we entered into the Golden Age. I'm a little bit worried about Norway's navy right here. Is he at war with somebody? No, but I think he's planning a war with somebody, because is it me? Oh, our alliance expires in one turn. Ton of Norwegian guys running around my neighborhood. A bunch of missionaries, all these caravels. Thankfully, all my cities have walls now, so won't be like an immediate death, but he'll have a pretty easy time of it, like damaging all of my coastal infrastructure. I'm going to try to make sure that I get that alliance back immediately. But let's go ahead and refresh the alliance with Canada. Let me double check here. Is the city up here, Wuhan, is that now experiencing loyalty trouble? Yeah, it is. So I pretty much have to get a cultural alliance with Canada now, just to keep myself defended. I'll go ahead and get a friendship with America as well, and trade him for a religious alliance. See if he'll pay me a little bit of cash as well. Do open borders on top just to make the deal a little bit sweeter. Looks like he's also working on the Alhambra. Looks like he's definitely working on a tourism game, because he's going for things like Renaissance walls, which I think the AI does when they're going for tourism. Now, it's just me and the Maori in a golden age, which I'm pretty happy about. I could go for Hicks on Dracones, but it's a little bit late for Hicks on Dracones. Reform the coinage is always really, really good because I have a ton of trade routes, as is Heartbeat Esteem to be able to build wonders faster. I don't have a whole lot of campuses though, but that little bit of extra wonder production kind of appeals to me. I think the gold is just so insanely valuable though, because if I come over here and I refresh my UI, you can see here I'm making 374 gold. I'm now making 461. Like, that's a ton of gold. It's really hard to pass that up, I think. It's just reform the coinage is just such a powerful dedication. It's really hard to pick anything else. We're going to go ahead and get started on the Bolshoi Theater in Taiyuan. I'm a little bit worried about this Norway fella spreading his religion again. How close is he towards a religious victory, I wonder? It looks like he has himself and Canada converted. As long as I can keep myself defended, I think I'll be fairly okay. But I do have to keep an eye out because it is starting to creep back in. It might be worth my while to get an apostle and start an inquisition so that I can start defending my own religion. We got the lighthouse up here in Wuhan. I'm going to go ahead and grab myself the shipyard, and that's going to be how we start on the water park and stuff like that. But we're also going to be building walls up here. You can see already our tourism is up to 162 per turn, and we have 17 out of 115 tourists. That number is probably going to get worse before it gets better, mainly because I got a little bit cock-blocked earlier in the series. But we'll get the hang of it pretty quickish. Oh, that's right. I actually completely forgot these guys don't upgrade into Crouching Tigers. Well, it's lucky I wasn't trying to rely on that. Delete the footage. Now, my alliance with Norway has ran its course. Let's see if we can... Alright, so we can renew our alliance with Norway. That's perfect. Open up a research alliance with him. Perfection. Now, Maori might actually be willing to take a friendship here. They're not ready for public friendship, but they will take a resident embassy and probably a small gift from me. And that'll hopefully start pushing them in the direction of wanting to be friends. Let's launch the Inquisition like we talked about so that we can get a little bit of era score as well as start getting an Inquisitor or two just to maybe fight off any of these apostles that think it is their right to be wandering around my territory. We're up to what looks like 6 great works of writing in my capital city. That is very, very nice because That's generating me about 12, 24, 36 tourism from them alone, which makes me very, very happy. The big sort of resource hog that I'm going to be coming up against over the next era is going to be gold. Getting enough gold to make sure I'm simultaneously taking care of like all the issues with my empire, like for example, getting enough builders and buying enough land to use those builders. That's going to be the big crunch, which is why I want so much gold in my empire. And I still have to get things like these shipyards. It's only a +4 production shipyard, but even so, that's well worth it in my opinion for the gold cost. Especially because it'll help me build up some of these other things that I really need to get as well. I think it's also maybe time that I picked up Reina this game to start doing stuff with her. I think maybe I'll plug her into Wuhan. Yeah, maybe I'll plug her into Wuhan. Maybe... I'm not sure how much I want to promote her just yet, but I think I could do, I don't know, maybe up to tax collector or something and have her established over here in Wuhan. Successfully stole another 500 gold from here. I'm going to level up the Siphon Funds mission so that he even more successfully steals gold with a lower chance to fail. And that'll help us further level him up. I actually found a really good spot for a campus or a holy site over here. God damn, look at this. This is a +5. I find it really satisfying when you find spots like that on a map that you could just get like absurdly strong holy sites and campuses and stuff like that. There's just something really satisfying about identifying like how much value you can get from a tile and then taking advantage of it. Okay, I'm going to just vote for myself twice on this one, and then I need to double check which amenity the AI will be voting for, and it looks like it's probably going to be Amber. So I can guess that Norway, since he has Amber, he might vote for Spices. So if I put enough votes into Spices, I'll put like 4, and maybe I can circumvent Amber being picked. Ah, beautiful. So it worked perfectly. Yeah, it looks like a couple people voted for Amber, but I voted enough for Spices. Actually, all of these guys voted for Spices. I guess everyone had Amber. That worked out really well for me. I know I'm not talking a whole lot about what I'm doing in my cities, and that's because it's mostly things like building walls. There's not a whole lot to talk about. It's very clear why I'm doing that. Now in Shanghai, I do want a campus in here, but I also need to get myself a builder to start the stuff over here, for example. I'd like to start buying tiles. I'm waiting for Scorched Earth, though. I don't know if it's worth it to build any of these wonders, but it could be worth it to get some traders online. I definitely think it's worth it to start building a few traders because I'm a little bit under my trader cap, so now's a really good time to pick those up because I've been getting a lot of lighthouses. This is the only city that I'm considering doing purchases before I have the expropriation card. And that's mainly because it's a Magnus Chop city, so I just get incredible value from buying tiles here, that it's worth it. Even if overall I'm doing it slightly less efficiently than I could otherwise do it. There's expropriation, and I think I'm going to plug it in instead of skyscrapers, because I'm okay with building things slightly slower if I can now start to spend my gold really efficiently to pick up a ton of builders and builder tiles for me to actually use and improve. Like here, this is going to save me so much money as I start building my great walls across this island. And my plan is to essentially try to fill this island with great walls. It might be a little bit of a silly idea, but I think it's the most fun way to play as China. The big hurdle I have here is there's a couple of antiquity sites kind of in the way. Right, so there's Scorched Earth. It also gave us a couple of envoys. I want to pick up urbanization, mass media, and ideology. Those are my next sort of 3 goals, and then we'll kind of reassess from there. And the reason why I want to pick these things up, urbanization is going to give me access to the neighborhood, which eventually leads to the shopping mall, which gives me +4 tourism. Then mass media leads to the Crystal Redentor, which gives me twice as much tourism from Seaside Resorts. Mobilization gives me access to another spy. No, sorry, ideology gives me access to another spy, and eventually leads to my tier 3 government, or is it tier 4? I forget how people like to count this. I think it counts as tier 4. Sorry, tier 3. This is tier 4 up here, but you technically start off with a government with tier 0 or whatever. And then we'll kind of reassess from there. This looks pretty good so far. I think you always want to go democracy in a tourism game purely because democracy offers you the ability to lower the hidden tourism multiplier. Basically, each of these governments has a sort of hidden multiplier that it applies to external tourism pressure towards the civ and towards other civs. So a civ, I think it's communism, has the best defensive multiplier, i.e. if you want to hurt someone's ability to generate tourism in your empire, you want to go communism. But if you want to maximize your ability to generate tourism in someone else's empire, you want to go democracy. Chengdu has finished its Renaissance walls, and I think, man, I really need builders because there's a whole bunch of unimproved tiles just going to be sitting around here. And this is the Liang city, so it's probably the best place to do it. I also really want to get an archaeological museum in here, but my gold is going to be extremely tied up for a while. And I was meant to be working theater square projects, but that kind of fell through on me. I do have 10 envoys to send, and Nazca just has so many put into them. It's so hard to justify taking this suzerainty because I would literally have to use nearly all of my envoys, so I'm not going to, especially since I don't have a huge amount of desert to exploit anyway. Alright, finally the third city of this island, and the plan is to kind of snake a Great Wall all the way around this continent and loop it up and around and sort of get it to split off and branch. Alright, my spy has leveled up from stealing in Washington. I'm going to go ahead and take rocket scientist because that's a helpful promotion if you want to actually prevent your enemies from finishing a scientific victory, which is typically the biggest threat if you're doing a culture victory, if someone is going to win a science victory. So I find that's a really good promotion to pick up, to be able to actually pillage those rocket sites with any sort of reliability. Have to keep stealing gold from Washington. It's only 300 gold a steal, but like that's still pretty damn good. It's good. It's not an amazing amount of gold to steal, but like it's about an extra turn's worth of gold every 6 turns, which I think makes it worthwhile to do. Plus, I don't really have anything else to do with my spies that has like really high value anyway. Just consistently purchasing tiles. I'm actually going to start trying to chop out builders as well, because I'm just going to need an absurd number of builder charges here as I go through this game. Getting enough builder charges is going to be a real struggle here. I might even go ahead and purchase a builder over in this area, like for example in Quishan. I don't know how to say the city's name. I gave it my best shot, but they're nearly 700 a pop, so I'd rather chop them out if I'm being all honest. I don't think it's worth it to keep a woods on this tile, so I'll go ahead and chop that into a builder as well. We can get that a little bit quicker. It's 117 production, and that'll leave only 14 turns on a builder. Chop, 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 as we can start extending this Great Wall all over this continent. Longxi has managed to finish off all of its walls, so we're going to go ahead and get the theater square going in here. I'm going to need a ton of builders coming out to get all this land retooled, so I'll probably get builders in Xiaodong as well. Like at least one in here to try to start to retool this, because I have to sweep my builders across the continent so that we can get enough seaside resorts. Just picked up our very first great musician. Now we don't have anywhere for that great work of art, great work of music to go, but that's not the end of the world. We will be able to shift out this great work of art here very soon and get ourselves our very first one. We're also building the Bolshoi Theater, which will be able to hold a great work of art if I remember, or great work of music if I remember correctly. Guangzhou has finished off its Renaissance walls, and man, I really just need builders, but I also need to get these buildings online. I think builders are a kind of faster return on investment, so I'm going to preferentially invest in those first and just like spam out as many of them as I can to get this like territory finished. The very first seaside resort of the game is being placed, and we get +3 era score from it, and this is now generating 5 tourism per turn. The goal is to eventually get the Crystal Redentor to get this to double to 10 tourism per turn, and if I can get my hands on the Eiffel Tower as well, it'll actually be generating about 14 tourism per turn. Then if I can combine that with computers, as well as the environmentalism civic, this single seaside resort could easily be generating 21 tourism per turn at a baseline. Then that will go out to each of these individual civs on the map. And if I can get my individual civ multipliers up to 100%, that means this thing will be making 21 tourism. That means this will be making 21 tourism times 2 times 5, which is like 42, like nearly 200 effective tourism per turn in terms of generating great tourists, because I'm up to 27 out of 127. I'm pretty sure that I could finish this game off fairly quickish here. So even though we had a bit of a stumbling block with the Great Rider blocking, America's tourism or America's culture hasn't grown quick enough for it to become too huge of a problem. And I'm not too far off getting my hands on rock bands. And rather than building national parks, I might funnel all of my faith into getting rock bands and just throwing them at America as soon as possible to try to rush him down. But we did also pick up James Young, thanks to the huge amount of great scientist points. I think that's my biggest takeaway for early game wonders, is that the Oracle is way better than I ever gave it credit for, especially when you combine it with the Grants promotion on Pingala. Unfortunately, one of my agents was captured by Norway. Not a big deal, because typically the AI will give you your agent back if you go to make a deal with them. Why can't I make a deal with you? Excuse me, Norway? I'm clicking on the make a deal button. I don't understand. Sometimes okay, so he had a diplomatic thing. He had a diplomatic negotiation ready for me, so that's why I couldn't click on make a deal. But if you just come down here, you can usually buy them back. It'll say like 18 gold per turn, but if you just like click that off and put in like 200-300, maybe 400 gold, which is like the price of getting your spy back is about what it costs to do a single spy steal. So it's well worth paying that 400 gold. Time to complete another section of the Great Wall. Shabam. Looking great. I wonder, actually, can I build the Great Wall on floodplains? I don't remember if that's possible. Oh, that might be a bit of a problem for me, actually. Well, we'll find out soon enough. Yet another section of the Great Wall. Excellent. Going all the way down here. My goal is to loop this one all the way up and around Khufu. That's why I'm making nearly 200 tourism per turn at this stage of the game, which is pretty damn nice. All right, so we have just revealed oil. And, there was a little bit underneath my Great Wall over here, which is actually making that into a pretty productive tile. And despite the fact that I promised Norway that I would stop stealing from them, I'm going to send my spy back there immediately and start thieving every ounce of gold they have available. This is where a lot of this build comes together, and it's at this urbanization policy. It's because we get access to military research. What this is going to do is make up for the fact that we don't have a very good science game. Because we spent all this time building Renaissance walls, we have immediately at our fingertips the ability to get +2 science in every city in our empire. Machiavellianism is great, but it's not necessary. So we could just plug in military science, essentially forget about our other problems, and just confirm here. And now we're picking up an extra 16 to 20 tourism per turn. And that number is only going to go up as we finish more of these Renaissance walls. And that's why I really like to tie this together, because this typically kicks in right about when you're going to be heading towards computers and picking up the Eiffel Tower. And that's usually, in my opinion, those are like usually the last two things you really want to pick up on the tech tree when you're going for a tourism game. Like after those things, there's not really a whole lot left here. And the military research card, I believe, only stays relevant up until, is it space race? Yeah. So you only have it plugged in for a very short period of time. And that period of time usually perfectly coincides with when you're getting computers and steel. I don't know, I just feel like it's a really, really nice kind of little build that I have together. Now, we did pick up Horatio Nelson, and the big advantage of Horatio Nelson is that he can immediately build a lighthouse and a shipyard in one of your cities. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to swing him over to Lang Fang and finish that in 2 turns. So that'll be like a huge injection of production and or gold in my empire. I am going to purchase the shipyard here because it's a +10 shipyard in Xingzhou. +10 production is like a pretty damn silly amount to be picking up. So I don't see a reason not to do it. The nice thing is, because we have revealed oil, we're actually getting 3 oil per turn, and we can start selling that to the AI if we so wish. But I think that is going to be it for this episode. A little bit of a slower episode, but I definitely feel like we've built up to some stuff. Like we plan to fill this entire area with great walls, which I think is going to be a really interesting thing to do. We're working on getting a couple of key wonders online. We're working on retooling an entire empire towards the generation of one resource, and that is tourism. So I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on in my empire at the moment, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next episode, as you should be as well. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.